5 years ago, he was the quiet black kid in a sea of privilege. Tonight, he was supposed to be the punchline. But when Marcus Green stood up, the joke turned on them, and the truth left an entire banquet hall in stunned silence. Before we go any further, if this is your first time watching one of our videos, please hit that subscribe button. Your support means the world to us, and it helps us bring you even more powerful stories. Stick with us till the very end. And if this story moves you, share your thoughts in the comments and send it to a friend. But to understand how the shyest boy in class became the man no one could laugh at, we need to go back to where it all began. Sometimes the cruelest jokes don't come with insults. They come dressed in invitations. The envelope sat half-buried under old bills and unopened flyers in Marcus Green's apartment. White paper, gold lettering, a neat, practiced script on the front. Class of 2018 reunion. You're invited. Marcus stared at it, thumb brushing along the fold. The name of the venue gleamed in bold print. Rutherford Academy Banquet Hall. The same school that had once swallowed him whole. He could still hear the echo of sneakers slapping polished floors, the click of locker doors, the laughter that always came a little too late and a little too loud whenever he walked past. Back then, he was the outsider, the shy black kid in a school where wealth dripped from every blazer and privilege was baked into the walls. His teachers praised his brilliance, but brilliance didn't stop the whispers. Weird kid, doesn't fit in, he'll never make it out there. The words were years old, but memory has teeth. Marcus placed the envelope down. He should have tossed it. Let the ink fade, let the laughter never reach him again. But then a small smile tugged at his lips. Because what they didn't know, what none of them knew, was that 5 years had changed everything. The boy they mocked was gone, and the man he'd become was about to walk back into their world. They remembered him as a loser, but he had become something they couldn't even imagine. 5 years. That's how long it had been since he walked out of those halls and never looked back. 5 years of late nights lit only by the glow of a laptop. 5 years of rejection emails piling up until they blurred into white noise. 5 years of coding marathons, ideas that failed, investors who laughed in his face. But Marcus didn't stop, because every no was just another step toward the yes he knew would come. And when it came big. The world no longer knew him as the weird kid. Now Marcus Green was the CEO of Green Technologies, one of the fastest rising tech startups in the city. He had signed contracts with firms his classmates couldn't even get internships at. His company had raised tens of millions. His name had graced headlines, but under the radar. He kept it quiet. Deliberately. Tonight, he stood in front of his cracked mirror. Hoodie stretched at the sleeves. Sneakers scuffed at the toes. Nothing about him screamed success. And for the first time, he realized that was exactly how he wanted it. Because if they had invited him to mock him, then so be it. Let them. They had no idea what storm he was about to walk into their banquet hall carrying. Sometimes power looks like a suit. Sometimes it looks like a hoodie. Tonight it would look like both, and neither. He wasn't walking into a reunion. He was walking into an ambush, and he knew it. Rain freckles still clung to Marcus's hoodie when he pushed open the glass doors of Rutherford's banquet hall. Inside, everything gleamed. White tablecloths, crystal glasses, a slideshow flickering across the stage. The air smelled like lemon polish and ambition. Gold balloons arched over a folding table lined with name tags. He found his, Marcus Green. The pin caught on the frayed cotton of his hoodie, snagging a loose thread. A symbol, almost, of how out of place he still looked. Heads turned. Not dramatically, more like ripples spreading out from the bar, the buffet, the photo booth. A beat of silence. Then whispers. Yo, that's him, right? Same hoodie. Told you he never changed. I heard he's stocking shelves now. My cousin swore he moved back with his aunt. The laughter wasn't loud, but it was sharp, cutting. Marcus kept walking, each step cushioned by the thick carpet, each step taking him closer to a night he knew they thought they controlled. On the stage, Tyler Voss, their old MC, tapped the microphone, still smug, still loud. "Reunited and richer!" he shouted. The crowd laughed. Marcus sipped water from a glass, his eyes calm, steady, watching, waiting. They thought he was walking into their trap, but he was walking into his moment. The cruelty wasn't in what they said, it was in how certain they were that he was nothing. Whitman breezed by with diamond earrings catching the LED wash, her smile thin, her words sharper. "Marcus, you look vintage." She didn't wait for an answer. At the bar, Chase swiped his card, declined, tried again, declined. The bartender politely angled the screen away. Two classmates snickered. "Did ya hear?" His app folded again. On stage, the slideshow rolled. High school photos, glow-ups, fake success stories. Then Marcus's slot appeared, just a gray square. Photo not provided. Snorts. Tyler leaned into the mic, his grin wide. "Guess some stories don't upload?" The laughter spread. Marcus sat still. His glass left a damp ring on the table. He wiped it once, slow with his sleeve. Not angry, just patient. Behind him, whispers floated. "Why'd he even come?" Tyler said it'd be hilarious. Full circle, savage. Brooks strolled over, his group trailing behind him. "So, Marcus, what's the grind these days? Still into computers?" Marcus nodded once. Something like that. Chase's voice rose, too loud, too desperate. "We're all building stuff, startups, exits coming, just a matter of timing." The others nodded, but Marcus saw it in their eyes. The lies sagging under their own weight. They thought he was the clown, but they didn't see the cracks in their own masks. Every smirk was a setup, every insult was a spring pulled tight. When it snapped, it wouldn't be Marcus who broke. The awards stacked like plastic trophies at a rigged carnival. Best glow-up, most international, biggest boss energy. Laughter rose and fell on cue, a wave choreographed by insecurity. Tyler Voss rode it like a cheap surfboard, grinning into the mic as though the beam of attention could keep him from sinking. He held up a final envelope like a magician about to pull a rabbit from a hat. "Honorable mention," he drawled. "Most. Likely to still be different. Marcus, you around?" The laughter that followed wasn't belly deep. It was thin and slicing, the kind that cuts while pretending to tickle. Heads turned. Someone coughed. A chair creaked. Marcus slid his chair back with a soft scrape and stood. He gave a nod so small it could have been a yes or a no, a thanks or a refusal. Then he sat again. The choice to not perform was its own performance. The room didn't know what to do with that. Wine glasses touched rims. A fork clinked nervously. The DJ, sensing an energy dip, nudged the volume up 2 notches. It didn't help. On Marcus's table, the water glass left another ring. He wiped it with his sleeve in one slow circle, as if erasing a chalk mark only he could see. Tyler shuffled note cards. "Okay, last bit before we dance. Huge shout out to our sponsor. None of this..." He gestured at the balloons, the buffet. The bouquet that was already wilting at the edges happens without a generous contribution. He flipped the top card. Blank. Frowned. Flipped another. Also blank. His smile overstayed its welcome. "Well, they've asked to remain anonymous, but hey, give it up for generosity." A few scattered claps. One half-hearted whistle. Marcus stood. The sound of wood on tile was louder than the DJ. Heads lifted like a field of flowers turning toward a sun they didn't expect. He walked, unhurried, toward the steps. Tyler's grin shook at the edges. Marcus didn't grab the mic. He adjusted his cuff, looked out, and let the silence spread until even the projector's fan seemed to hold its breath. Then, in a voice that was steady more than loud, he said, "I want to thank you all for coming." A beat. "And I want to thank Summit Gatherings, which is really just me." Confusion popped like weak fireworks. A laugh sputtered and died. Someone at the bar said, "Wait, what?" Marcus slid his phone from his hoodie pocket and tapped once. Behind him, the slideshow blinked, then vanished into black. New images flared up. Headlines, logos, mastheads, TechCrunch. Green Technologies raises $40 million Series B to reinvent AI infrastructure. Forbes, the quiet architect, Marcus Green on building at the edge of what's next. Bloomberg TV still, Marcus in a dark suit talking about latency and ethics. A single line lingered last, stark on a white background. Estimated net worth, $18,000. Phones. Came out. The blue glow of verification rippled from table to table. Search bars turned into confirmation. Chase tugged his blazer sleeve and stared at a screen he didn't want to show anyone. Brooks' champagne glass trembled hard enough to plink the rim. Tyler's mic lowered inch by inch until it touched the podium. For a long moment, no one moved. The projector light washed the room in a new kind of brightness, the kind that leaves nowhere to hide. The joke didn't land. It boomeranged. And the punchline had their names on it. They labeled him weird to make him small. He wore the label long enough to turn it into armor. Marcus didn't bask. He stood in the glow of proof, like a man who had already made peace with it. His voice softened, patient, and precise. You see, what you called weird was vision. What you called failure was patience. And what you laughed at, he nodded toward the lights, the spread, the banner above the stage, became the reason you're standing in a hall I paid for. The sentence didn't shout. It landed. Shame. Moved through the room like a weather front. Brows lowered, jaws unclenched, shoulders curled in as if trying to protect ribs from a punch that had already landed years ago. Near the back, two classmates forgot how sound carries. "Why'd we laugh?" one whispered. "Because we thought he'd never be anything," the other said, voice breaking. "Now he's everything we said he couldn't be." Tyler lifted the mic and found it heavier than before. "Well, Marcus, that's wow," he tried. The words skidded on the surface, failing to take. Brooke, who had once taped a "kick me" sign to Marcus's locker, stared at the floor as if it could swallow her whole. Chase, apostle of vaporware and declined cards, pressed both palms to the table like a man steadying a ship in a storm he started. Marcus eased one step closer to the edge of the stage, shadow stretching. Calm absolute. "I didn't come to humiliate anybody," he said. "I came because you invited me." He let it sit there, simple and true. "I came because I remember what it feels like to be the only black kid in a sea of uniforms and have the word different tossed at me like a joke and a sentence, a murmur. The kind that isn't pushback, but recognition. Here's another definition." He held up a finger. "Different is what you are right before the world catches up." A flutter. Somebody exhaled like a prayer. "And if you're wondering why I kept the hoodie," Marcus added, glancing at the frayed cotton where the name pin had snagged, "it's because it reminds me that I never needed your costume to build my life." He didn't smile when he said it. He didn't need to. From the side, a teacher who had quietly advocated for him in 11th grade dabbed at her eye. The DJ, young and more honest than the playlist, nodded to no one. Marcus let the silence do its last job, to convert defense into listening. He had turned the room from a jury into a classroom. Lesson 1 was over. The test was how they walked out. Justice doesn't always slam a gavel. Sometimes it simply refuses to perform for the crowd that once demanded a show. Tyler's cue cards were useless now, fortune teller paper squares in a storm. He set them down. "Marcus," he tried again, smaller this time. "Do you want the mic?" Marcus considered it. Then he shook his head. "I've said enough." He glanced toward the banner, Class of 2018, presented by Summit Gatherings, and then back to the tables where so many smug expressions had cracked into something more human. He didn't list his patents, his grants, the scholarships he'd quietly funded for kids without the right last names. He didn't recite the nights he ate instant noodles over a keyboard that overheated at 3 a.m., or the first investor who told him, "Eyes on the hoodie. You don't look like a founder." He didn't have to. "The difference between us isn't luck," he said. "It's what we chose to believe about ourselves and about each other." He set the mic, untouched, on the podium and stepped down. He moved through the aisles as if the room had widened to make space. People made eye contact and then couldn't hold it. A few said his name like it was an apology. Others opened their mouths and found no words worth using. By the doors, the portable photo printer spit out a glossy frozen moment from 20 minutes ago, a row of laughing faces mid-mockery. The machine clicked again and offered the same image to an emptier room. Marcus pushed through the glass doors into night. Air cool, honest, rain freckles turning to mist. Inside, the DJ cut the track and let the silence be music. Tyler exhaled into the mic and said the only decent sentence he had all evening, "Let's take 5." At the bar, Chase flipped his phone over, the final notice banner still there, red and unignorable. He swallowed, then ordered water. Brooke set her untouched champagne aside and stared at her reflection in the flute's curve, as if a different angle might change the face. A cluster near the stage started their first smart conversation of the night, about who they had been, what they had rewarded, how fast a cheap laugh curdled into a regret you could taste. The teacher who had once slipped Marcus an extra study guide gathered her bag and stood straighter. "I told you he was special," she murmured, not to gloat, but to mark the truth. And Tyler, who had thought a microphone was a crown, found a quiet spot behind the curtain and sat down. No cards, no spotlight, just a man in a wrinkled suit. Considering the difference between being funny and being kind, they had come for nostalgia. They left with a mirror. The question wasn't who Marcus was anymore. It was who they were going to be now. What happens after a mask falls? You either pick it up or you learn to breathe without it. The hall thinned early. The balloon arch sagged, refusing to pretend at perfect curves. The caterer boxed up what no one had the appetite for anymore. Someone peeled the tape off the banner, careful not to rip the vinyl, as if gentleness could undo what was printed there. Outside, in the parking lot puddled with reflected LEDs, Marcus leaned on a lamppost and watched the night settle. The hoodie felt exactly right. The rain had stopped. The city hummed its practical lullaby, a throat cleared. He turned. It was Roman, the quiet one from physics, the only person who had ever asked him, back then, what he was building. Roman shoved his hands into his pockets. "I knew it was you," he said softly. "Not all this." He gestured toward the glow of the hall. "But the way you waited." Marcus nodded. "Took me a while to learn the difference between staying silent and being strategic." Roman laughed once, a real sound. "I could use that lesson." They stood in a companionable pause. No apologies, no requests. Just the kind of respect that doesn't need a receipt. The doors opened again. 3 more classmates came out together, still whispering, but the tone had changed. Less gossip, more inventory. A woman from the lacrosse team lifted a hand in a small wave. It wasn't an ask. It was an acknowledgement. Marcus returned it. Then he pushed off the lamppost and walked, no hurry, no entourage, toward a rideshare that had just turned the corner. As the car rolled up, he glanced back once at the hall where he had been rewritten by other people's pens and finally took the story back. As he slid into the seat, his phone buzzed. A text from the program manager of a community tech boot camp he funded anonymously. Kid named Aiden just shipped his first app. He reminds me of you. Marcus smiled. Tell him the hoodie is optional, he typed. The work isn't. The rideshare pulled away. In the rear window, Rutherford Academy shrank to a smear of light and then to nothing. Ahead, the city opened like a circuit, nodes waiting to be lit. They invited a joke. A mirror showed up. The punchline is simple. The world doesn't get to decide your worth. Your work does. They once called him loser, weird, nothing. The only black kid in a sea of uniforms who would never make it. He didn't argue. He built. He didn't shout. He showed. He didn't wear their costume. He rewrote the script. So tell me, if you were in Marcus's shoes, mocked and underestimated, would you have revealed your success? Or walked away in silence? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if this story moved you, like, share, and subscribe for more hidden black truths, where we turn mockery into mirrors and shine a light on the people the world tries not to see.